they should be reminded of the Islamic principle that what the right hand gives, the left hand must not know. So if you go by the Islamic principle, you should not be going out there donating, whether it is even 500,000, 1 million, but you need to be on a stage to give a check. You need to give a cardboard and all that, and profile. That to me defeats the purpose. From the principle of Islam, you may have lost many of the virtuous points because you're supposed to give it quietly. You're not supposed to be highlighting the whole thing. Yeah.
We are talking about the power of giving. And hari ini bersama Mimi adalah Datuk A Sani Karim, an engineer, a businessman, sportsman, past national athlete, a devoted father, a grandfather, and a son. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Datuk Sani,
Thank
kita
you.
sebenarnya berada di rumah dia untuk shooting Tenang is Good podcast ni. And tak sebenarnya something happened today that buatkan last minute changes, dan akhirnya rasanya memang it's meant to be that this topic memang memerlukan Datuk Sani ni untuk duduk di depan Mimi sekarang untuk bercerita tentang the power of giving. So how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much. And how are you?
First of all, Mimi nak cakap thank you. Sebab rumah ni sangat selesa. Mimi tertidur tadi.
Alhamdulillah.
Rumah ni sangat tenang sampai kami semua tertidur kat sini tadi dengan tenangnya. Something about the energy in this house, and mungkin sebab tuan rumah pun tenang orangnya. Very welcoming. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much.
So when we
Huge
talk,
compliment. Lama dah tak dapat compliment macam ni.
ya, selalunya berdua je kat rumah. Betul.
Selalunya berdua. Yeah.
Bila kita cerita pasal the power of giving, rasanya I think everybody knows about your contribution in sports, but today we would like to talk about your contribution to people around you. And you are really famous tau, Datuk, for your leadership, your compassion. It seems like from your card pun, I see that you are Asian Squash Federation Emeritus President. What is Emeritus President actually?
That position, the current position I hold, is the one newly created just for my exit as the president. I served as a president for 4 years.
People don't want to let you go.
They didn't want to let me go. They wanted me to serve another 4 years. I said, no, I couldn't. But can you stay somehow, have one foot? So they changed the constitution and created a position called Emeritus President for me, an immediate past president, an official position with a job, with a letterhead for which I can just knock in doors and deliver speeches on behalf of the federation that I used to lead from the year 2009 to 2013. So I've been the Emeritus President since then. It's only meant for the immediate past president.
That's nice. So what does the act of giving mean to you?
Actually, all in all, giving is a privilege. Giving, not many people realize when they receive so much, it's nice, it's fun to receive. But when you give and you can afford to give, and sometimes you can't afford, but you still make an effort to give, there's a different type of satisfaction. There's another type of good feel, and it's for us to experience. But unfortunately, not many of us are in that line. Everyone's waiting to receive. I've been with the family, I've been with friends, and we've all very much tried to give a lot to continue enjoying that. It's painful sometimes, but it is generally always worth it to feel good after giving. I would say that in the earlier few years when I started, the first 20 years of my working life, it was never easy to build up the family. And it's not that I was also well done and whatnot, but the minute I felt that I was above water, I decided that I should also look at what to give to society. And I started doing a lot of this voluntary NGO work. NGO work is called non-governmental organization work. It's all for free, it's voluntary. It's sometimes people want it because there are perks inside it, but very often people just volunteer their time and do it. So I started from the year 1994. And it became a huge success. That was towards the preparation of the Commonwealth Games, so in 1998. And it was the first ever squash event in the Commonwealth Games, in the history of the Commonwealth Games. And the Commonwealth Games Federation, Michael Fennell, was so pleased about it, wrote such a beautiful letter about it. And I said, 4 years of sacrifice, it just felt so good. So in a minute you feel good about it, then you realize that it's not just about the time, the pain, the struggle, and the frustrations that you've had over the previous 4 years. And if you could remember, that was the time that we were building the Bukit Jalil Stadium. It was all brand new, and it was not even run in yet, and we even had to do trial programs in order to prepare for a September Commonwealth Games. So it was really stressful. And at the end of the day, by the time we finished on the 22nd of September 1998, with the president of the Commonwealth Games writing to thank us heartily about the wonderful event, it was all worth it. So that's that good feeling I wanted to impress on.
So it seems like all this creation that we see happening, it comes from this act of giving at first, yeah? Is it a culture or is it a principle to you? To what do you feel about this giving culture?
I think when I was young, I was rather independent, and I then moved on towards probably leading. So I became a leader from a very young age. In practically at every age, I was always there, heading the team, leading the team. So when I started working, when you're a leader, you tend to actually try to get everybody to pool your resources in order to do it for society and to give it to society. So naturally, when I was in that position, we started wanting to give. That's when I gave it, and I haven't stopped since that period, 1994 till now. It's 30 years of NGO work at this point in time.
30 years.
30 years.
30
That's
years
a
of
big part of my life.
Giving.
Constant giving.
How do you come to a state of sincerity when you give? Because as you said, it's been painful. It is not all easy and effortless. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of energy dedicated to give. How do you come to a state of complete sincerity?
It wasn't like raising my hand and running in. It took a bit of persuading, because we were always balancing between our family and our work. And when I had visits from people who came to the house, came in and said, "We need you for the Commonwealth Games in 4 years from now. Can we have your name in this list? Can we put you as a committee member to be heading the squash event? Can we put an effigy of you on a chair even if you're not present also? Just we want you to be involved and get started also." So that's how I got persuaded and I got in. And in a way, they're very close friends, so they felt brave enough to come in and talk to me about that without being chased away. But I listened to them. I said, okay. So when we did it, and I think part of the training for many of us is, if you're in doing something, you better try and do it to the best that you can. Do it to the best or don't do it at all. And then there's no half measure, so to speak. So we tried to do the best, and we didn't expect that we would make such a big success. It would be branded as the gold medal of the event was the squash event. Not that Malaysia won the gold, but they won the organizing of the event. Yeah. Back to your question, I didn't raise my hand and run in. So I listened to them and volunteered and said, yeah. But then my commitment was that I'd be given my name, that I would have to do it. Yeah.
Have you ever felt unappreciated? Because I'm sure you have encountered many thankless people throughout this whole NGO movement.
Yes, yeah. I would say you have to expect to be unappreciated, because the world is such that not many people are ready to thank you wholeheartedly. There will be some, but not very many, who will heartily and honestly thank you, and they will come in and give lip service and try to see what's in it for them in there, where they could fit in and use you to that. But if you are at all prepared to do something for the benefit of that project or that event, then do not expect to be applauded, do not expect to be appreciated, don't expect to get a letter of appreciation, for which I saw in most of my 30 years, we were mostly unappreciated. But then people recognize that you had done it, but if they forget it the next day, and you remind them a year later, they will try to remember it, but you're not very appreciated. But there are instances in those years, you will find the odd occasion that there is a system in which they will actually give you a letter of recognition, a letter of appreciation. And for example, for all the work that we've done, we have been inducted into halls of fame of both the Asian Squash Federation and of the Olympic Council of Malaysia. So all those were more than enough payment for all that sacrifice. It was a sacrifice, huge sacrifice, but it was all worth it.
I heard you were called Bapa Squash Negara.
Oh, that.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, that was interesting. That came from people in the squash fraternity. Many of them deemed me as the father of modern day squash. When we turned around, when I got involved in the National Squash Association in 1999, we were really nobody, we were nothing. I was the deputy president, and then I went on to become the world president, management committee. I was number 2 in the world, so I was the second highest sports squash official in the world, managing 150, 160 countries all from my laptop. And so I focused more on the world event. And then when I came back and wanted to run the Malaysian association in 2004, 25th of November, I found that we were broke. We had no activities and we had no performance. We did not achieve credentials, so there was not much testimonial to our activities. So there had to be a total revamp. And so we went around. And so from that point, whereas World Squash started in 1973 and we got somewhere, not very far, but by the time I took over in 2004, there was just so much to be done and probably turned backwards. So I had to turn it around. And within my period of presidency of 6 years until I handed over on the 9th of December 2000, I turned it into the most successful sports organization in the country with a 5-star rating on 2 evaluations. And we were the only sports association that with a 5-star rating. And that's why they deemed me as the father of modern squash, because there was a previous squash before and there would have been previous fathers as well. Yeah? And just to elicit the example, I used to drive down to Penang every weekend to visit my mum who was sick. And my wife and I would travel almost every weekend to Penang, and we would stop at the drink huts. And because of my exposure and the fact that I was visible to the country in the papers and on TV, the vendors would even stop my dear wife and say, Kakak, itu bukan Datuk Squash ke?
Datuk Squash.
They don't even know my name, but they would just say, that's Datuk Squash. We always see him on TV. And say, okay, please sampaikan salam to Datuk Squash. So he was father of modern squash and also maybe Datuk Squash. You know, I mean, they may not know your name. But in that regard, there's a little kick. There's a little bit of an appreciation. The guys remember that we did that. Many of them, not many people would. Yeah.
Oh, so it does feel good to get something in return when out of being generous. Okay? But do you think it's okay to have that feeling? To expect something in return out of being generous, and also meaning, how do we maintain kekalkan ada keikhlasan dalam memberi itu?
Yeah, maybe there are two aspects to it. One is if somebody was genuinely wanting to do something and had done a good job, it's okay to actually expect a few compliments here and there and appreciation. There's nothing wrong with that. They did not do all that to be appreciated and to get that letter, but it would be lovely to have that. But then there's the other one where people deliberately go into an association in order to be profiled, in order to get seen and appreciated, and they worm their way up in association. But it didn't happen in squash because we were very systematic and very organized and beautiful transition all these years, you know. And one could query as to whether you have to be careful with all those that will basically climb over people in order to climb up the ladders in their associations. Yeah, it's okay to expect some appreciation.
Okay, but it also means it's okay to expect it, but I guess it comes back to our intention of why we're giving. Kan?
Yes, yeah, and it's okay to expect it, but it's always very good to be ready not to receive any. And then you're okay. My personal experience, we went in there not expecting a thank you from anybody, and there were many occasions when people didn't appreciate it. They just took it for granted as though it mattered so much to us that we had to do it. It didn't matter. We did it because the country needed it, so we did it for the country. We did it for the society, yeah. And
I love how he keeps saying we, because it's not really about him. So he could just
no,
keep saying
it's all of us. It's also you.
This is the real thing about people who are generous, They keep saying we. It's the team here.
I'm very much a team guy.
You believe in teamwork?
I very seldom ever use I, because I will not talk about me doing it. I'll talk about we doing it, my team, my entire deputies, my vice presidents, my committee members are all part of us, and I always appreciate all of that. They get the appreciation from me, so that's to look after them, but at our level, we are best to just appreciate ourselves, not to have to wait for people to appreciate us. Our role is to...
Wow. We have to start appreciating ourselves. That is so true. Instead of asking external validation, we must validate ourselves first.
Just when you need to ask yourself, have you done something that was contributive to the country? Was it good? Did it help? And if the answers are all yes, you should just give yourself a pat on the back. And don't have to wait for people to give you a letter. And for example, when we took on those positions that you saw, the country needed it. And there was nobody else to do it. And when I took over we were in big debts. We had a lot of debts, a lot of borrowings, a lot of money on our part. There's a lot of sacrifice before we actually got the funding correct and we got the sponsors. We got like CIMB to be the squad sponsors, and they came back from being in the negative to the tune of about 500,000 to 1 million. We turned around and we handed over with millions in the coffer. So that was important, that the association and the country needed that. And if I can rub the point in, is that when we took over, we were nothing. We were not a recognized sport at all. Singapore would beat the daylights out of us. And when we got in down there and we turned it around with a vision. What was the vision? We called it Project 2010. We will create ourselves a country that will be a powerhouse where everybody will be fearful of us. So to cut the long story short, by the time I handed over 6 years later, we had Nicole David at world number 1, we had Ong Beng Hee, we had Azlan, we were all in the top 20, and the Egyptians, who were the leaders in world squash, were always fearful of only Malaysian squash. They said, we don't care about the rest, we want to know where is Malaysia in the draw. So that was the biggest compliment you can have, when the strongest country was scared of our country and we were nothing 6 years before.
Your daughter told me during her school time, when her school magazine needed some money to get the school magazine done, you went in and donated thousands for them to get it done. This is really, that's why I feel like, that's why people look at you like as this character of really generous man. So, sometimes I just wonder, how did you develop it? Like, is it from very young age where?
Yeah, I think if I have to analyze myself, I think it was God-given, because nobody trained me. I lost my father when I was 8 years old. I didn't have a father. We were in a guardian arrangement, living in my grandfather's house, poorly looked after. Not really, we will safely say poorly looked after. All of us had a tough time. But it was self-trained, and fortunately it was a God-given talent. I led in the school. I became the leader in most things, head boy to speak with and all that. And so it was something where I always looked at what is the right thing to do and what is not the right thing. So nobody came and told me that you must be generous, you must be this and all that. Yes, I felt that, okay, I think this is the right thing to do. Maybe we should just assist them and give them money.
So when your father passed away, then it's just with your mom?
Yes, my mom. And we were not well off. Basically, we survived on welfare, sponsorship. I was getting, those days, a lot of money, 5 ringgit per month as a student on the Penang State Scholarship, and primary, that was it. And then secondary, it was upgraded to 10 ringgit a month that we shared with
whole
and,
family?
and my mom was getting money from the Welfare Federation because of my father's passing away at the age of 36, a very young age, and we were only very young. My mom. So we had a tough upbringing, and it's for you to analyze yourself and to see what are the right things and what are not the right things to do, and nobody cared. And in fact, it's funny to say, I looked and I said I was lucky because here I am, I come back with all the best results in the school, and nobody said, well done. And I said, so the sign.
It's
you can take it
natural
back.
to not expect it.
Yeah, so
But
you have to
because-
develop it on your own, because it wasn't like people pushing you. You have to work hard. You have to do it. But it was like, I think, God given, because I played a lot of sports. I was very much a sportsman from very young. There was practically no sport that I did not play. Yeah. So
Everything.
practically everything, and I coached.
Football.
And I did. I ran for the school. I played football for the school. I played badminton for the school. I played table tennis. I played soccer, and I played what is the other one? Sepak takraw, sepak raga, and I played it even at the state level. I was probably in Penang. It would be very unknown to think that you're the best state player under 15. And scoring all in Chinese. Yeah, it was just that I was a natural affinity to sports, so I just enjoyed it. And so that interest I had probably developed into the need to help others as well. I just enjoyed it. It was really fun. You're the winner, you're this, and maybe I can do this, I can teach them to do it. So I went back. When I went to my school, Penang Free School, we had coaching sessions. I taught people how to play basketball. It's not a Malay sport, but I was about the best around there, Yeah, so we moved on, and then, as you will know, that I developed and went into national squash, yeah. But before that, I was also playing badminton, also equal to the national level, playing with the national players, yeah. Self-acclaimed and self-achieved, because we didn't have any coaches, we didn't have any training. If anything, we were all on our own, so to speak. And I applaud my other siblings as well for having found their way through life.
Because it wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy.
It wasn't something that is.
Yes, but we are thankful to all of those who helped us in that time of need. Okay, but when there was that need, and two of my uncles were very helpful, and they gave, and maybe that was probably something that I saw. The fact that they started helping out their nephews and nieces who needed help, and they were saving some money from Singapore and sending it back every weekend, adding to the welfare money that we were getting. That's probably my subconscious, that I probably learned that, they're giving, so it's time for us to give.
Somehow, the act of giving that you received when you were a child, kind of like subconsciously teaching you towards the act of giving. Yeah. Well, okay. So if you're a giver, do you how do you feel when people are being generous towards you? Do you accept it? Do you allow it? Do you love to receive?
Yeah, I normally do not get too many of those, because probably they think I don't need it.
Because you always give.
Because I always would rather give than take, but I'm very happy to receive, and of course with the necessary appreciations and the give backs and all that. Again, yeah. But I think they probably know that I often quote this very famous thing. When people say, what's your philosophy in life? I always tell them, the great late president of the United States, the 35th president who was assassinated, John F. Kennedy, assassinated on the 22nd of July, 1963, a year and 3 months after my late dad passed away. So it was very poignant to me. And then I said, and he, in his inaugural speech in January 1961, even before my dad passed away, he made this speech that is so famous right now. What did he say in his inaugural speech? He said, ask not what the country can do for you, but what you can do for the country. So that stuck in my mind somehow. So I was not interested in receiving too much. What is it that we can do? Do I have time to help? Can I do in any sport, whether it is sport or work or cash or whatever? Is there anything we can do to help? But don't ask what they can do for you, but what you can do for them. If you can't, then so be it. Then you have to say that you've talked about it, you've thought about it, you're happy. I'm sorry, I can't because we can't afford it. Oh, here we are, we can. You can have that. straightforward. Different.
I like that.
Different.
It's precise. It's simple.
It's simple.
It's simple when you live your life that way. Yeah, it's not that you don't want to receive. It's just that I'm more towards giving. So what else to give? What else to give? What else to give? So that creates this habit of giving, and it becomes second nature to you.
It has been. I tend not to do things without always looking at how we can contribute, even if it is just by effort. Even if it's not cash, it's just by effort,
Right.
And,
So it's not really just with money, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's our attention to things.
And it can be counsel, it can be maybe giving advice and to share the advice of the period. So anything that made a guy better when he goes back will make you feel better because you helped that person as well.
Oh, okay. So, right. I feel like when we give, when it comes to the act of giving, both parties are receiving actually, because the one who gives actually have this, I don't know, some satisfaction from giving.
Yeah. But if it is the type of person who likes to give and wants to high profile himself, and he needs the television, he needs everybody, he has to be at the stage, that's against my grain.
Do you believe that some people maybe because they dah jumpa dengan orang-orang macam tu, di mana people just come bila dia tolong semata-mata untuk profile and status and status
publicly applauded.
Right. Itu yang buatkan orang tak rasa nak memberi juga.
Yeah. And I think they should be reminded of the Islamic principle that what the right hand gives, the left hand must not know. So if you go by the Islamic principle, you should not be going out there donating, whether it is even 500,000, 1 million, but you need to be on a stage to give a check. You need to give a cardboard and all that, and profile. That to me defeats the purpose. From the principle of Islam, you may have lost many of the virtuous points because you're supposed to give it quietly. You're not supposed to be highlighting the whole thing. So it's always pleasurable to give. Like I'm proud to even be reminded that my daughter's school needed cash and we gave the money. I don't even remember. Because the right hand gave something that the left hand forgot all about. The left hand didn't know and the right hand forgot about it as well. And that's how we should do it.
Do you feel like, as someone who gives and never not wanting anything in return, and we keep doing that, and it will inspire other people to do that as well? Do you believe that the act of giving ni, if we continue, like when we start with ourselves, we do it, and it's contagious, it will, make all of us in a collective to actually be more giving?
I think it would, but it has to be done in a very subtle and discreet way, because if you went out there and publicize yourself as giving, that defeats the purpose of actually giving privately.
Some people can, macam if we talk about this on social media, for example, they would counter this by saying, but in Islam, it's okay if you want to give out things and then you let people know, so you inspire other people to do it too, right?
The objective of inspiring is acceptable, but it's not really through the way of publicizing yourself so that you inspire, because that is hoping that people will inspire, but more hoping that people will know that you have given. So that's not the point.
It's
the point
different.
is you can inspire people by even privately telling them, listen, I have this project. Do you think you can help me? You want to help me with me? Come, this is what I'm doing. And then you publicly tell. You don't publicly tell people, but you tell this guy, come accompany me, just follow me and see how we do it. So you help. And you put in all your things and he learns and he's inspired. Look at that. Yeah. I'm not so sure now if I should even share something with you, because nobody really knows this. And people don't know me. I don't think you may have over-exaggerated my...
Okay, but
I think most of the viewers may not know me, but...
because this is our podcast.
Primary school is so important to us. And I haven't told anybody this. Of course, my wife and family will know all this, but and very few people know this. Primary school is so important, and yet none of us spend enough. Very few of us spend time on the primary school, but we tend to assist our secondary and our college days and our university days.
It seems like those times, it seems like we can't wait to grow up.
Can go out, yeah. And I felt that as an orphan, somebody who was basically, who had a wonderful time in the 5 years that I had at primary school, I didn't see the issue about the balancing of the money, because that was my late mother's issue. She did a wonderful job on that, but we were just sweating, and I was there all drenched in sweat, running every day and playing sports and all that. So I was thinking, what about the poor people who were like me, who are now orphans today? Somebody has to help them, Yeah. And so what my wife and I have done is, very confidentially, you all don't know where the school is, you don't need to know that, but my primary school, every year my wife and I will go back for the past 14 years during Ramadan and give them handouts every year, and we have the budget. So it is an ongoing thing, and for which the school is so appreciated, because they said very few people ever remember their primary school. They're always back at their secondary school and all that. But I felt that the time to help them would be at their primary school. It's such a great feeling to go out there to help not only the orphans. The two categories we have would be for orphans and for the young, the needy ones, basically salaries, combined salaries of your parents are all below 1,002 kind of thing. So we would give them, and quite a sizable amount. It's in quite a bit of money, but it's done once a year during the month of Ramadan. It's always the last Friday of Ramadan. My wife and I will make a trip out to Penang to help. Such a great feeling to know that you have helped 68 orphans this year. You have helped 75 orphans the year before, and the needy ones, and to them you can see the grin throughout the whole day. They all come and kiss my wife and cry. They will all be basically crying, saying thank you. Because some of them will have 3 or 4 children and all that, and they all get their own individual packets, so they wait for that period. But that is giving back to the school, and is so basically therapeutic that it is highly recommended. You should learn to give back, particularly to things related to your upbringing, where we were actually brought up, as a student, even by yourself, but also with the environment of the school. Again, wonderful school. So we look forward to that period in the following month. When Ramadan's coming, we should be on the way there soon. That's been ongoing.
I might join you.
Yes.
if there's a wish for all of the people you have helped in your professional and personal life, what would it be?
Firstly, to be content with what you have and be thankful for all that you have. And if you're super talented, you probably will have a bit more. And if you're particularly lucky, you will even have even more. But if you're not, be content with what you have. But always remember, there will be people who do not have as much as you have. And why don't you share some of it with the people who don't have as much as you have, so that you will enjoy that act of giving, that gesture of giving.
What's your advice for younger generation who are in the era of receiving more than giving? What would you say?
I think nothing unusual. You don't have to be ashamed of it, because that's the mass thinking, the mass culture. But the minute you try something else and you get out of that nudge, you get out of that shell where you actually want to get, you always want to know what's in it for you, and you start giving away, and you also do not receive as much, you will begin to appreciate the value of life, I think, even more.
Thank you, Datuk Sani, for an amazing session. My heart is overwhelmed. I'm feeling a lot, because just like you, I feel like you're such a you're this precious soul that I would love to follow, or in a way make example of, because I too want to keep giving, because I believe in the power of giving, just like you. Thank you to the production team. Well, thank you, Become, for... Oh, do you know about this product?
Oh, it's a wonderful product.
Oh, of course.
I'm lucky that I do not really need it, but I took it once and it really helped as well. But some people need it so much because they can't sleep. I sleep so easily.
When did you When did you try?
Took it on a particular morning. One particular morning when I just thought for a change, and then actually when I got to the office and I chaired my second meeting after chairing the first meeting on Be Calm, and then I chaired the second meeting, and they saw me like almost dozing off. I was like, falling asleep in the middle of a meeting. I said, that must be the Be Calm, that really almost put me to sleep. They actually said, Datuk, you must be very tired. Your eyes were closed when you were talking. So
this completely make you relax.
It's a very great relaxant, and I didn't need to be relaxed, but I was so relaxed that I was talking to two of my partners in my room, and I actually was asleep, and I woke up. I'm sorry, I think I fell asleep. So, but it's a wonderful relaxant, and it's a very good medicinal thing. So for those who need it, it certainly will go some way to helping you.
Right.
For those
because of the ashwagandha that's contained in it. Yeah.
The KSM 66 is just wonderful.
It's premium, yeah.
Premium,
Thank you very much. Thank you so
You're
much.
most welcome.
And to those who haven't subscribed to Tenang is Good podcast on YouTube, please do so by click away. And before I leave you guys, of course, there's a quote from me.
Wow.
This is from Maya Angelou. I have found that among its other benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver. So I see you again next time.
Thank you very much.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.